These Japanese virtual reality games reached a new level of sophistication, where even the five senses of players moved inside the game, and NPCs acted like humans. Hiroshi Yuki realized that he didn't have enough money to purchase the new game, and walked into a less popular shop to see if he could get it cheaper there. Manager Riona Kasaragi tricks him into buying this 10-year-old game named Kiwame Quest by pointing out its higher than average rating. Once in the game with his character Hiro, he is surprised at how real the world looks. His first quest is to leave Ted and find Flora Castle, but his childhood friend NPCs, Alicia and her brother Martin, tell him that he isn't allowed to leave the city and try to stop him. Hiro gets irritated that Martin hit him and it hurt, so he pushes him and accidentally kills Martin. This disturbed him with how realistic it all appears. Alicia goes crazy, so he flees to town, where he finds Riona dressed in a fairy costume. She's shocked to find he already destroyed his chances of becoming the hero by gaining the nickname, Best Friend Killer. Riona describes the game had been created to be completely real, no resetting. Riona suggests Hiro would get help from Ginji, a player who also killed Hiro's best friend NPC Enrique. Hiro realizes the murderer had gameplay consequences. Alicia arrives and Riona explains that Alicia is a good knife user, and most players would make her a permanent teammate, but since Martin was killed, this option is no longer available. Hiro is able to log out once Riona, invisible to NPCs, and attacks Alicia's eyes. The next day at school, Hiro's friend Takafumi advises him that if he stopped playing games, may leave him alone. When Hiro logs in again, and he is contacted by Ginji, a middle-aged drunk, who tells him that he had killed his best friends, when he didn't know the gameplay. His kills weren't reversible in real life, and he hadn't won yet in 10 years after joining the game. He advises Hiro to practice martial arts in the real world, since their characters' capabilities are based upon their bodies in real life. He also tells him about Kamui, the player who defeated the game. Claiming that it will help him, Ginji removes Hiro's disguise, and revealing him as the wanted murderer. Ginji tells Hiro that he will have to do some real prison time if he confesses to Martin's murder. Martin's ghost shows up in prison and decides to haunt Hiro until he remembers a childhood promise that Hiro can't recall at all. Hiro soon realizes that Ginji is also being haunted by his best friends in a similar way. Just then, a young woman named Mizurisa comes to his rescue. The game warns him about intense stimulation, and thinking he and Mizurisa will have sex, but it turns out she's actually the town inquisitor. She tells him that if he confesses, he'll end up in prison, but if he goes through torture, he'll be set free. Then Riona shows up, saying that if Hiro doesn't want to be seen as a murderer throughout the game, he has to endure the torture. Mizurisa gets ready to have some fun by chopping off his limbs, but suddenly, the torture stops. When Riona checks Hiro's title, she realizes that by wetting himself in fear, he accidentally unlocked a new skill and storyline that saves him from the torture. While Riona is thrilled, Hiro is furious and quits the game, swearing he'll never play this game again. He remembers tripping and wetting himself during his first high school race, and an Olympic medalist in the crowd, Mike. Mike pointed out his mental weakness and told him to look within. Because of that, Hiro quit the track team and became a target for bullies. Now, his sister is giving him a hard time for giving up on the game just because it got tough. He heads over to Riona's shop to return the game after getting his money taken by bullies. She tells him about Soichiro Kamui, a local politician who claims his success comes from the lessons he learned while playing the game. Riona even shows Hiro a walkthrough Kamui created, but no one bothered to use it because he was such a jerk as a teenager. Hiro finds out he needs to beat Alicia without actually fighting her, get a sword, let Martin haunt him, and start collecting items, since the shops in the game can run out of what he needs. Riona convinces Hiro to keep playing by promising to marry him if he wins. As Hiro dives back into the unknown storyline, Mizurisa decides he's her favorite target and can't wait to mess with him again. Tesla, the city guard captain, declares Martin's death an unfortunate accident, which gets Hiro off the hook. But since the game is so realistic, Alicia is still out for revenge, and the villagers think he's guilty. Hiro goes to Ginji to ask for a loan to buy some essential items, but he loses his temper when Ginji says no. Then, Martin's ghost shows up to remind him of what happened the last time he got angry. Meanwhile, the ghosts of Ginji's childhood friends appear to him, but Hiro can't see or hear them. Riona manages to convince Ginji that their fight was a duel, so he hands over his gold, and Hiro's title changes. Hiro then heads to an item shop run by Melissa, thinking he needs smoke bombs to protect himself from Alicia, only to find out he's still being charged crazy prices. He tries to grab the sword he should have started with, but Alicia is right there waiting for him. Hiro tries to use a smoke bomb, but totally forgets he needs to light the fuse first because of how realistic it is. Alicia makes a move to kill him, but Mizurisa steps in, not letting her favorite target get taken out. Alicia outperforms expectations by knocking Mizurisa unconscious. Hiro gropes her breasts, remembering he is supposed to defeat Alicia without fighting, but since it's all so realistic, she gets mad instead. Then, Martin's ghost shows up to help Alicia finish him off, which pushes Hiro to confess his feelings. Alicia, who's been his friend since childhood, reveals she's torn and runs away. Hiro realizes that Alicia doesn't know she's just a game character. She thinks he's her dear childhood friend. He also remembers that Martin's death was an accident, and instead of grieving with her, he ran away like a coward. Understanding the purpose of Kamui's walkthrough, Hiro asks Martin to keep haunting him, sharing a childhood memory. Martin forgives him and moves on to the afterlife, knowing they promised to be friends forever. When Hiro's title gets upgraded a bit, Riona thinks he might get another shot at being the hero, starting with fixing his rusty sword. But then they see the city is on fire, something Riona has never witnessed. Despite sticking to his childhood promise and defeating Alicia without a fight, the blacksmith tells Hiro that goblins are attacking. Riona warns him that goblins are super strong, and if he dies, his game console will be permanently disabled as a penalty for realism. When Hiro asks if any players have ever taken down a goblin, Riona mentions that Kamui and Shohei have, with the latter being a boxing champ named Shuhei Ida, who said beating a goblin was tougher than taking on a real human. Hiro tells Riona to distract a goblin so he can save a young girl NPC who looks just like his sister. Hiro taps into a super speed skill that reflects his real-life running prowess, and swoops in to save her just as the goblin is about to strike. Tesla shows up next, taking out the goblins and revealing to Riona that he's one of the game's top NPCs. Hiro is livid when he finds out that rescuing the girl has earned him the title of Lolita Complex. He decides to take Tesla up on his offer to join the city guard as a mercenary before logging out. Later, while checking out Kamui's walkthrough, Hiro learns that this choice is a terrible one, with only a 0.1% survival rate, meaning there's a 99.9% chance his console could get wrecked if he keeps playing. Hiro ends up with a 0 rating. He realizes he has just a 5% chance of survival if he can make it through Tesla's grueling 5-day training and the next goblin attack. Hiro tells Kaide he's not backing down and plans to stay in the game for those 5 days. When he comes back, Tesla introduces him to Queen Govern, the city's lively ruler. He also meets Granada and Palu, fellow mercenary recruits, along with Kathy and Bob, soldiers who help train them. Amos, the soldier who first arrested him for Martin's murder, becomes his main trainer. Hiro struggles against Amos, and quickly realizes he lacks any fighting skills, leading to him being looked down upon. After oversleeping and arriving late for his second day of training, Amos makes him practice solo. Granada and Palu tease him for being a friend killer and a weak soldier. But Kathy steps in to train with him and teach him the basics. On the third day, Hiro gets beaten in a duel by Granada, who along with Palu, continues to taunt him. Hiro can't help but notice how much they remind him of his real-life bullies. Riona sends Hiro to the city guard's counselor for help with his depression, but instead of support, the counselor criticizes him for not being good at fighting. When Kathy suggests Hiro pray for some guidance, the only result is a nun splashing him with holy water. On the fourth day, Palu brutally attacks Hiro and warns Kathy that if she sticks by him, she'll face the same fate from him and Granada, leading Kathy to distance herself from Hiro. The next day, Granada gets pranked so badly that he decides to quit. Later, Tesla shows up with a letter that seems to be from Palu, accusing Amos of being behind the pranks. Tesla wants answers, and Kathy spills the beans about the bullying Hiro has faced, along with how Amos and the others have just stood by. This leads to Tesla firing Amos, and Kathy along with the recruits apologizing to Hiro. That night, Riona confesses to Hiro that she was the mastermind behind the pranks, which ends up changing his title as if he were to blame. Even with his lack of training, Hiro resolves to take on the second goblin attack, even if it means wrecking his console. Riona decides to reveal the true reason she wants him to keep playing as a reward for his bravery. Riona reveals that Kamui once rejected her in-game because her big breasts. So she vowed to marry someone who finished the game as petty revenge. When Hiro logs out, he finds Kaide increasingly worried about him. After checking the walkthrough, Kamui tells Hiro to stop depending on it and just fight. Tesla announces that Granada and Palu have been replaced by Mizurisa and Alicia, assigning them to patrol the deserted city with Hiro. Alicia and Mizurisa catch a thief, who reveals that a crime boss ordered the thefts before the goblins showed up. When they raid the thief's hideout, they find out that the boss is Ginji. Frustrated with Ginji's selfishness, Hiro insists on taking him on solo. But Alicia steps in and takes Ginji down quickly to save time. Ginji feels a mix of admiration for Alicia and regret over the deaths of his childhood friends. But he finds some comfort in the idea of going to prison, since it's a safe place. Meanwhile, goblins launch an attack, and Hiro suddenly finds himself needing to use the restroom again, even though he just went. While he's in the bathroom, a goblin catches him off guard. Luckily, Mizurisa swoops in, takes out the goblin, and then proposes to Hiro. Just as things get intense, Alicia interrupts, giving Hiro a chance to escape, but he's still got to hit the restroom again. Riona asks about his past, so he explains what transpired. Riona teases him about it, which irritates him, relieving his stomachache but changing his title to reflect his bathroom habits. Hiro starts to suspect that the Goblin King, One Eye, is behind the mission's dismal 0.1% survival rate when they invade Queen Govern's palace. To distract One Eye, Tesla brings in 3 goblins they've captured. Hiro pieces together that these goblins have been missing for a long time. When Tesla kills One Eye, he reveals that he captured the goblins 7 years ago, and that One Eye was their father. When Govern shows up, they explain that goblins are actually smart and peaceful, but can be terrifying when provoked. They've used this fear to keep people from entering or leaving Ted, allowing them to rule without opposition. To cover up the truth, Tesla kills his own men, making Hiro realize that Tesla is the real final boss he needs to take down. Alicia steps in to defend Hiro after deciding to forgive him, but she ends up getting assassinated. In the heat of the moment, Hiro uses his speed to fend off Tesla. Kamui's guide reveals that strong emotions can temporarily override realism in the game. Hiro manages to outsmart Tesla and goes for a stab, but his sword breaks. Just when Tesla is about to land a hit, Hiro's soul travels to meet Martin, who offers to lend a hand. When Hiro returns, he discovers that his broken sword has become a cursed best friend killer blade. Hiro is about to kill Tesla when he wakes up in his room, having forgotten about Govern, who bumped him from behind, allowing Tesla to kill him and destroy his console. Hiro is depressed when he notices a new section of Kamui's walkthrough that informs him of a way to resume the game an hour before his death. Hiro decides to spend an entire month preparing and begins exercising, lifting himself out of his depression, becoming closer to his sister, and even standing up to his bullies inadvertently. Hiro realizes that Kamui experienced the same thing, which gives him hope. Riona lends Hiro a new console a month later, and he returns to the game.